Hey, what's up everyone?
And recently we traveled all the way over to Paris, France to get a tour of the Catacombs thanks to the film As Above, So Below, which comes out this weekend in theaters.
Yeah, we got to talk to the cast and crew and find out some interesting stuff about the unsettling location the movie was filmed in. And we actually we were on the set basically because we filmed everything in the place where it took place.
Yeah, they actually filmed it way down in the Paris Catacombs. It was not a fake set, which is great for a found footage film.
Yeah. Since we were heading to the Catacombs, we thought it would be cool to figure out what places are pretty unanimous for being some of the creepiest on Earth, and enlisted the cast and directors on our search. And these aren't in any kind of order because they're all pretty creepy, so let's start up with Perdita Weeks, who I spoke with about a creepy place she'd like to explore, the Pyramids of Giza.
I think the pyramids would be amazing to go to and see, you know, because I mean it's essentially a mausoleum. It's just it's a big tomb.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be amazing to explore inside, and also just to sort of see. It's the same thing with this. I mean, these tunnels are man-made, so it's kind of that seeing how on earth did they do that, and the kind of evidence of humans.
Most people know the history of the pyramids, but we agree with Perdita that based simply on the history alone, these massive tombs deserve a spot on the list.
Pyramids were built to be a final resting place for Egyptian royalty, and although most of the history surrounding their construction and purpose is speculation or just outright conspiracy, we're looking at you, ancient aliens. They're believed to be a physical representation of the king's ascent into the sun, which was his fate after death.
Yeah, the dead were buried with everything they would need so that they could continue their reign in the afterlife. And of course, this piqued the interest of explorers and grave robbers alike who wanted to be the first to discover, and in some cases sell, some of the history.
These explorations spawned the Mummy's Curse, which became famous after the 1922 discovery of King Tut's tomb in the Valley of the Kings. Apparently, after they broke into the tomb, some of the people present for the opening died of mysterious causes. Most famously, the death of Lord Carnarvon, who died 6 weeks after opening the tomb.
But this was all just coincidence since curses aren't real, and a majority of the people present went on to live long, healthy lives.
Still, as we said before, based simply on the history alone, the pyramids are one of the creepiest places on Earth. Then I spoke to the writer and director of the film, and I asked them if, aside from the catacombs, there were any other real-world locations that were creepy that they'd like to shoot a found footage horror film at.
Yeah.
It's Cappadocia in Turkey. There's like an entire, multiple cities in the mountains in central Turkey, where back in the 3rd century they used to, when barbarians were raiding, they would bring entire villages into this, inside the mountain and roll a big rock over the entrance and just hide in there for months or years at a time. And they bring livestock in there, and it's like 5,000 rooms all in inside a mountain, and those are pretty interesting.
Cappadocia is home to several ancient underground settlements, with the most advanced and complex being Derinkuyu, a massive multi-level underground city capable of sustaining 20,000 people.
Derinkuyu was only recently discovered, actually, in 1963,
Jeez.
when a resident of the area was just renovating his home and found a mysterious room hidden behind a wall.
That's creepy. This chance discovery revealed a series of tunnels and rooms first built over 2,700 years ago, possibly by the Phrygians, possibly by the Persians, but no one can be certain.
Whoever built it did so without anything resembling modern tools and tunneling machines. It was basically just hammer and chisel, and it's fucking huge.
Nevertheless, they were able to create underground wells, several staircases, shops, tombs, arsenals, livestock chambers, temples, wineries, and even classrooms.
All deep underground and featuring massive, heavy stone doors that could be used to close the city off from the outside world in the event of war or natural disaster or God knows what.
It even has tunnels several miles long connecting it to other underground cities in the region. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, anything that big that could stay hidden for that long has to have some secrets, and I'm just glad they didn't find a lost civilization of mole people when they opened it up.
Or crab people.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Aokigahara, also known as the Suicide Forest. It lies at the base of Mount Fuji in Japan and is infamous for being the second most popular place in the world to commit suicide, falling just behind the Golden Gate Bridge.
More than 500 people have taken their lives there since the 1950s, and it was popularized as a suicide destination after the release of a novel by Seiichi Matsumoto called Black Sea of Trees, which ends with 2 of the characters taking their lives in Aokigahara.
The bodies of those who decided to cut their lives short are littered throughout the forest and are only recovered if they are found by officials during annual sweeps of the area.
The forest is very dense and thick, making it extremely hard to find the bodies, let alone remove them. I mean, it's pretty pitch black once you get to the middle. It's said that if you go far enough in, the chances of finding human remains is pretty high.
Yeah. Suicide is so popular here that the entrances of many of the trails that work their way through the woods have cautionary signs with phrases like, "Life is a precious thing, please reconsider," printed on them.
Jeez, correct. Ah, the Winchester Mystery House, the perfect example of what a crazy person can accomplish when they have lots of time and money.
After the death of her gun magnate husband, Sarah Winchester inherited over $20 million and 50% ownership of the weapons manufacturer, which gave her an insanely high and steady income for the time.
Yeah, Winchester rifles were pretty much like the go-to rifle back in the day. Sarah Winchester consulted a psychic medium, aka bullshit artist, who was allegedly channeling her late husband's spirit, and told her that she needed to move west and continuously build a home for not only herself, but for all the ghosts of people who had died as victims of Winchester rifles, which was a lot of people.
A lot of people. She hired carpenters to work day and night, and the work never stopped. She didn't use an architect and just kind of told the carpenters what to do. So there's tons of weird shit in this mega mansion, like doors that open to nothing but walls, staircases that go nowhere, fake bathrooms, and windows that just look into other rooms.
Now, allegedly, Sarah Winchester believed these crazy plans would confuse the spirits that haunted her.
Yeah. Well, to confuse somebody. The house itself is incredibly creepy, and it's obviously easy to get lost in there. But since we're skeptics to the paranormal, we're gonna go ahead and assume that there are no actual ghosts, and any reports are just people's imaginations. It's still creepy though.
It's creepy as fuck, and yeah, it's right here in California. You can go up to San Jose, make a little day trip out of it.
Yeah, real fun day trip for you and the wife.
In April 1986, the worst nuclear power plant accident in history occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Priad, Ukraine.
The exact cause of the disaster is still uncertain, but explosions and fire at the power plant released an extremely dangerous radioactive cloud into the air.
Locals were not notified that such a serious disaster had taken place for several hours, during which time dozens of people fell seriously ill.
The general population was not notified of the accident until 2 days later, when dangerous radiation levels 1,000 kilometers away in Sweden raised alarms.
Yep. There's just a big cloud of toxic shit just moving across Europe, and Russia, good guy Russia that they are, just didn't tell anyone until people started asking, hey, there's a
radioactive
bunch
cloud.
of radioactive shit coming from your direction. What's going on there? So the city of Pripyat was evacuated, eventually, with residents told to only leave with their necessities, since authorities claimed that the evacuation would only last about 3 days.
However, a 30-kilometer radius exclusion zone was quickly established, and it remains in place to this day.
Thus, the city of Pripyat remains stuck in time, a modern-day ghost town slowly being eroded by the elements.
Yeah, plant and wildlife animals have overrun the exclusion zone in the 28 years since the Chernobyl disaster, and the area has become a target for vandals, looters, and urban explorers.
Parts of Pripyat are still too radioactive for long-term exposure, but by carrying around a Geiger meter to monitor radioactivity, you can navigate through the area with some degree of safety, and guided tours are actually available now.
Yep, the power plant itself is encased in a concrete sarcophagus to prevent the remaining radioactive materials from escaping.
And there's a whole lot of shit just sitting there, and it'll take 10,000 years or so for it to go away.
Pripyat is a real-life version of the post-apocalyptic landscapes we've become so familiar with in fictional films, television shows, and video games. Call of Duty did a Pripyat level.
The utter desolation of this once vibrant city that was abandoned overnight can be seen vividly in images of classrooms, offices, homes. There's even an amusement park that are all now completely overrun by plants and mud, with really dangerous levels of radiation that aren't going away anytime soon.
It's a totally unique place like no other, and it's creepy as hell. This one's one of my favorites because I've been there as well. If you're ever visiting Philadelphia, go ahead and skip Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell. It's too crowded there anyway. Instead, opt to head over to the College of Physicians of Philadelphia, which is home to the insanely creepy Mutter Museum.
Mutter Museum is one of the last medical museums in the United States and is home to tons of weird shit like a decomposing human corpse, a 9-foot-long human colon that contained over 40 pounds of fecal matter, dozens of preserved human fetuses, pieces of human brains, cross-sections of human penises and vaginas, and lots of creepy old medical devices that will make you extremely happy that you're alive now instead of back then.
It's extremely interesting. The collection was originally donated and obviously named after Dr. Thomas Mutter in 1858, who wanted the specimens to be used to instruct the school's medical students because he believed seeing this stuff in real life was way more useful than trying to learn it out of a book.
He's got a point.
I've been there and it's incredible. You should really check it out if you're ever in the area after you get your fill of cheesesteaks and stuff.
Actually, maybe eat afterwards.
Yeah, good idea.
Or
good
just
idea.
don't eat.
Yeah.
Kind of nasty.
On to the Paris Catacombs.
Of course.
Yeah.
The history of the catacombs originates from the mining of rich limestone deposits used for building a great deal of the city. All of this mining led to over 200 miles of tunnels below the Parisian streets.
By the 17th century, a problem arose as the cemeteries in Paris began overflowing. Literally.
Ugh.
Bodies were coming uncovered and there were complaints of the foul stench of rotting corpses from the residents in Paris. So something had to be done.
A beautiful city. Since they had all these miles and miles of unused tunnels, up to 100 feet or so below the surface, beginning in 1786, the city started transferring the bones of the deceased from their original resting places to the catacombs.
It took 12 years to move all of the dead down underground, and then during the time around the time of the French Revolution, people were being buried directly in the catacombs. No, don't put them in a cemetery, just put them straight down underground.
The catacombs are now home to the corpses of over 6 million people, nearly double the population of the city above.
Yep. About a mile of the catacombs are open to visitors every year, but the hundreds of miles attached to it are a terrifying labyrinth of twists and turns, and it is incredibly easy to get lost, as we found out just being down there on our own for a very short period of time. We broke off from the group for literally 5 minutes and got completely lost. Did we really lose them?
We came in.
No, that's like a storage area.
Yeah.
Oh god, we really did get lost in the catacombs. Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's bad. Everything looks exactly the same.
There's no sound does not travel in there at all. You can be 20 feet away, screaming, and if you're around a corner, no one will hear it.
Dead silence. It's kind of cold.
There are numerous reports of people getting lost down here and then never coming back, but also a large number of so-called cataphiles who go down there for the thrill of exploration.
We actually met a few of those guys.
Yeah, they were telling us some pretty crazy stories. Yeah. They would hide little pornographic notes inside human skulls. Yeah, they would crawl all the way back and put like little notes for people to find inside human remains.
I mean, based on the amount of bodies alone, this is by far the creepiest place on Earth. I mean, throw in the fact that you can get lost within a few minutes and never find your way out, leading to insanity and then eventual death in complete darkness. There's really nothing freakier than this location.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking terrifying when we were down there. And since As Above, So Below was nice enough to bring us out to explore the catacombs, we talked more in depth with the cast and crew to find out some more interesting details about the film and some of the difficulties that were raised in filming in this crazy location.
And it was difficult.
Yep. So enjoy, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Stop. This is the Empire of the Dead.
These are human bones.
Was it hard to sell the actors and crew on that? Like, oh, come out to Paris and shoot this film. By the way, we're gonna be in the catacombs the whole time.
You know, they were amazing. Actually, we have one rule that we always tell casting directors. Like, we have our no asshole rule. If you know someone's an asshole, just don't even bring them in, because there's good people out there who you know are talented and thankfully all of our actors are so delightful.
They were completely down for the cause.
So how long were you actually down underground filming on a daily
down
basis?
like all day,
All
like
day.
8 hours.
Really?
And then we'd go up.
And have an hour for lunch.
Yeah.
The place that we're in right now, this part of the catacombs, how much of the movie was actually filmed in the location we're kind of
A
standing
lot.
right now?
I'd say
a
this
lot
is
of
the most used area of the
Really?
catacombs for the movie. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of, I mean, the tunnels go round and round and round and round. I mean, I don't really understand them, but so, you know, obviously they'd worked out which bits looked the best and which bits we could connect. And you know, we'd often just be sent off with the camera or with our head cameras and just walking and kind of improvising and stuff. You know, in these films, I find it awful when actors aren't allowed to do any improvisation, because there are these blank spaces where if you were a human being, you'd be saying something, whether it be just something small, you know,
Reacting to it,
reacting to what's happening. And in this, we were all doing that all the time. So it just felt very much more real, and you could experience the kind of things that they were kind of doing to us a lot more naturally.
There was a cinema down here, and there's like raves down here, and there's all kinds of weird stuff like rituals and all kinds of weird stuff down here. But as we dug deeper and deeper, there's like a whole world. There's people who live down here for weeks on end, you know, and camp down here. They have smoke bombs so that when the cops are not allowed to go through smoke down here because it's dangerous. So when the cops chase them, there's Catacombs who come down here and chase these guys, and these guys light smoke bombs, and that stops the cops. And
there's a tremendous amount of creation down here too. I mean, there's a lot of art and music that's made. There's a lot of sculptures and orchestras that get together and play down here, and choirs that come down and sing down here, because it's just something very alluring to creative types down here. So some of it's very subversive, some of it's very creative.
We definitely felt alone. I mean, there were long stretches because the takes are so long. So you'll go, all the way down one of these corridors for like a long period of time with just camera, sound, and a light, and everybody else is left way back. But they knew exactly where we were going, and they figured it out, and it ended up being usually a giant circle, which I never understood.
No, I never got my head around the geography of these tunnels.
Would you ever come down here with someone like the guide you have and just do it for fun?
No way.
No. Yeah, he seemed to lose where he was going pretty quick. Yeah.
A punk from a club, no. Yeah. Like a tour guide, maybe. He'd have to be like old and, I don't know,
Yeah.
Experience.
wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
On a scale of 0 to King Tut, how cursed would you say you guys will be for the rest of your lives?
I like the scale.
Yeah, hopefully,
Hopefully closer to 0.
hopefully closer to 0.
I
But
hope so.
King Tut, you know, it felt like that down here at moments.
Yeah.